invoking the blessings of the Almighty, our gratitude to Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, the vision behind the conference, dignitaries seated on the dais, respected elders, doctors, delegates, and members of the medical fraternity seated here, and all those joining us live on the webinar, students and staff of the university. A very good morning and welcome to the inaugural session of the two-day international conference on post-pandemic reforms in medical education for accessible and affordable rural healthcare 2022, presented by Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. At the outset, we would like to welcome all the dignitaries on the dais. Padma Shri awardee Dr. C.N. Manjunath, Director, Sri Jayadeva Institute of Cardiovascular Sciences and Research, Bangalore. Dr. Vivek Javali, Chairman, Cardiovascular Sciences and Hospitals Executive Committee, Fortis Hospitals, Bangalore. Dr. Rajagopala, Head of Department of Pediatrics, All India Institute of Ayurveda, New Delhi, India. Dr. Nitin Gangane, Director, Professor and Dean, Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Sevagram, India. Dr. S. Sachidanand, former Vice Chancellor, Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences. Dr. Ravi Pillai, Senior Consultant, Orthopedic Surgeon, Mount Elizabeth Hospital, Singapore. We will also shortly be joined by Dr. Snehal Kulkarni from the Sai Sanjeevani Hospitals, Bombay. And from the leadership team of the university, we have Dr. Raghupati, Director, Medical Education. Mr. B.N. Narasimhamurthy, Chancellor, Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. Mr. Sri Kantamurthy, Vice Chancellor, Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. And our dearest Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, Social and Spiritual Leader, Founder, Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, and the vision behind this conference. Today, we are also honored to have with us Padma Vibhushan Professor M.S. Valiyathan, legendary cardiac surgeon, most popularly known for developing the Chitra heart valve and for advocating and authoring several books on Ayurveda. Today, Dr. Valiyathan has joined us live as the keynote speaker of this conference. Also joining us virtually is Dr. K.S. Anand, Professor of Pediatrics and Anesthesiology, Stanford University School of Medicine, USA, who's a key member of Sadhguru's healthcare mission and has been instrumental in organizing this conference. A hearty welcome to all the dignitaries joining us here and virtually. We would now like to invite our founder, along with the dignitaries, to light the lamp symbolizing an auspicious beginning.
Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
We commence the inaugural with invocation by Vedic students of our university who will be chanting the Narayana Upanishad.
श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 अथ पुरुषो ह वै नारायणो कामयतः प्रजासृजेयेति नारायणात् प्राणो जायते मनः सर्वेन्द्रियाणि च खं वायुर्ज्योतिरापः पृथिवी विश्वस्य धारिणी नारायणात् ब्रह्मा जायते नारायणात् रुद्रो जायते नारायणादिन्द्रो जायते नारायणात् प्रजापतयः प्रजायन्ते नारायणात् द्वादशादित्या रुद्रा वसवः सर्वाणि च छन्दागुंसि नारायणादेव समुत्पद्यन्ते नारायणे प्रवर्तन्ते नारायणे प्रलीयन्ते ॐ अथ नित्यो नारायणः ब्रह्मा नारायणः शिवश्च नारायणः शक्रश्च नारायणः द्यावा पृथिव्यौ च नारायणः कालश्च नारायणः दिशश्च नारायणः ऊर्ध्वश्च नारायणः अधश्च नारायणः अन्तर्बहिश्च नारायणः नारायण एवेदगुं सर्वं यद्भूतं यच्च भव्यम् निष्कलो निरञ्जनो निर्विकल्पो निराख्यातः शुद्धो देव एको नारायणः न द्वितीयोऽस्ति कश्चित् य एवं वेद स विष्णुरेव भवति स विष्णुरेव भवति ॐ शरीरे जर्जरे भूते व्याधिग्रस्ते कलेवरे औषधं जाह्नवीतोऽयं वैद्यो नारायणो हरिः ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्री साईश्वरार्पणमस्तु।
We now request Sadguru to unveil the logo of the conference. Vaidyo Narayano Harihi proclaims the Indian culture, meaning doctor is God. World Health Organization emphasizes the criticality of universal health coverage, defined as all people having access to health services they need, where and when they need, without financial hardship. And medical education and healthcare providers are the foundations for any country to achieve this dream of universal health coverage. The COVID-19 pandemic has revealed a critical need for the current medical education system to provide affordable, accessible, comprehensive, compassionate, and high-quality healthcare for all, especially to the underserved populations in rural India. The Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence presents the second international conference on post-pandemic reforms in medical education for accessible and affordable healthcare that will bring together leading medical education experts from India and other countries to share their ideas and build on conclusions from the 2021 conference and lead the way to national and international reforms in format, curriculum, structure, funding, evaluation, and access to medical education. We will now have the inaugural video of the international conference. May we have the video, please?
International Conference on Post-Pandemic Reforms in Medical Education for Accessible and Affordable Rural Healthcare. Health is the natural state of one's being. It is not a luxury, but rather a very basic need, still more, the right of every individual. In today's world, health has been commoditized as a product to be sold and bought, thus widening the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Moreover, the high medical education fee has led to immense pressure for medical graduates to come out on top to earn, rather than serve. In this rigmarole of commercialized healthcare and education, the underprivileged sector in rural hinterlands is severely impacted. More than 3.4 billion of the world's population live in rural areas. The doctor-patient ratio is 1 to 1,456, as against the World Health Organization norm of 1 to 1,000. Only 23% of global health workforce is deployed in rural areas, and this has led to high mortality rate in rural areas worldwide. The COVID-19 pandemic has further revealed a critical need for an affordable, accessible, and comprehensive healthcare system for all. There is an urgency to revive the culture of healthcare back to its glory by making both healthcare and health education a compassionate endeavor rather than a commercial enterprise. This international conference on post-pandemic reforms in medical education for accessible and affordable rural healthcare, hosted by the Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, is crucial at this juncture of time, when the world has gone through the trials of an inequitable healthcare system that has caused the mortality of more than 6 million lives. The first step in this direction is to set the foundation right by tackling the way medical education is bestowed. Re-steering medical education towards non-commercialism is the only way to stabilize the global healthcare system as a sustainable and equitable sector of public service.
We warmly welcome Dr. Snehal Kulkarni, Head of Department Pediatric Cardiology of the Sri Sathya Sai Sanjeevani Hospital, Kharghar, Navi Mumbai. May we now request our Chancellor, Shri B.N. Narasimhamurthy ji, to make the introductory remarks.
Loving pranams at the lotus feet of Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai. Very eminent and distinguished medical professionals and medical educationists seated on the stage. My dear brother, Vice Chancellor, Dr. Shrikanta Murthy Garu. Brothers and sisters, and very dear students, boys and girls. Imparting free of cost education along with wisdom, and providing free of cost medicine or healthcare along with compassion are the two great legacies left behind by the great Divine Master, our inspirer and the guiding soul, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. By taking money out of the equation of education and healthcare, he liberated both education and medicine or healthcare from the rampant commercialism and the tragedies that it brings to common people and also middle-class families. And today, Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai is taking forward the mission, fulfilling these two legacies with greater emphasis and glory. If you look at what has happened in the last 10 years, with the inspiration of Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai and blessings of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, 20 more new educational campuses have come up all over Karnataka and a few in Telangana and Tamil Nadu, including a university that is Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. And in the field of healthcare, Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai has founded and established 4 super specialty hospitals, one of them multi-specialty hospital, one in the northern India, one in the central India, one in the western India, one in the south, and of course in the east it is awaiting and it is going to be established. And all this is possible because there is compassion which rules all these efforts. And Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai is now adding a new dimension to these two legacies by bringing together both medicine and education in the form of medical education. This was not done by Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba because what is happening now is a progression of what should happen and what will happen. And when we think of medical education, both wisdom and compassion should be brought together. Possibly you can phrase it as compassionate wisdom. What is compassionate wisdom? I quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Before I do anything, I contemplate on how it will help and benefit the least among men, the poorest among men. See, that is pure compassion. And his second statement about higher education and university education, any university wishes to impart education that is best suited for our villages, that university should go to the villages. That university should be established in the villages. And both have been done by Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai now. The schools, educational campuses we have established are for the poorest of the poor because they are completely free of cost, absolutely free of cost. The hospitals established by him, 4 of them now, they are completely free of cost and therefore they cater to the least among men and women, the poorest among men and women. And today, what is required to further the cause? What is required to further the cause is the cause of education for that matter, which our university has achieved some success. Most of our people live in villages in our country, and as was pointed out in the video, 70% of our people in India live in villages, and all over the world it is more than 50% of people live in the villages. For the cause of rural education, we require rural teachers. What do I mean by rural teachers? Rural teachers are those inspired teachers who come from villages and who are ready to go back to villages to serve the rural community. They are best suited. And these rural teachers can be best created out of rural children, rural students. This is what the university has done. As an example, the first batch of postgraduates from our university, 21 of them, all of them have joined back into the mission of rural education. They have gone to our rural campuses. And this cannot and will not happen anywhere unless they are inspired. It is not the question of just giving them free education. For inspiring, we need a sacred environment. We need a pure environment which is provided by the inspiration of the spiritual master, Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, who is amidst us today. It's so with rural healthcare. To make it, already Soumya has spoken about the cracks that have been revealed by the recent pandemic in our medical healthcare infrastructure, and more importantly, the lack of enthusiasm and inspiration in the medical professionals to go to the villages and serve the most needy. Therefore, I would say rural doctors are required to further the cause of rural healthcare. What do I mean by rural doctors? These are inspired doctors. These are inspired medical professionals who come from rural areas and are ready to go back to villages. The children who have seen the troubles and travails of the villagers are best suited and most inspired to go back to their roots, villages. And education should be imparted to them in a rural atmosphere. Why do you uproot them from their villages and bring them to urban cities which corrupt and corrode, generally instilling greed and cutthroat rivalry? Keep them in the villages. Let the medical colleges be in the villages. And let us give medical education to these needy rural children. Then there is a big question. How will they get admission into medical colleges? Rural people, they don't have the money to pay the exorbitantly high cost of medical education. They don't have money. And they don't even have the background and training to stand in the top ranks of NEET ranking to get into medical institutions. Then how do they get in? Therefore, the solution which is put forth by Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai is to establish a medical college, an institute of medical sciences, that too integrated medical sciences, because it is very, very important in rural areas, and give admission to rural children. But how is it possible? Because the rural children are handicapped. They study in rural schools, government schools. See, this is the wonderful, I would not call it wonderful because it is the most threatening polarization that is happening in the society today. Children of the poor going to government schools or private schools which really lack academic excellence, and children of the rich people going to primary institutions which provide best quality education. How will rural children compete in the NEET examination? Therefore, I appeal to the medical professionals seated on the stage and also among the audience. We have to give a thought to this. We have to relax for such educational institutions, such medical colleges which are established with the one and the only way of tackling the problem of rural healthcare. An exemption should be given. I don't mean that those who are disqualified in NEET examination should be admitted. No. Every boy or girl who has to get into medical education in our country should pass NEET, should qualify in NEET. There is absolutely no doubt about it. But you don't expect them to excel and be among the top. See, that is not possible. Therefore, if this kind of provision is made, it is easily possible. Our medical college, our Institute of Medical Sciences here will admit only poor and needy children from villages and create inspired rural doctors. And we will readily go back to the villages and serve the village people. This is possibly a solution. I request all the experts, medical experts here and also educationists to consider this proposal. And it need not be a one-off institute also. It can be a policy. Anywhere a rural medical college which is established, which will give completely free of cost medical education, should be given this provision and allowed to admit only the poor, needy children from the villages, and then we can tackle the problem of rural healthcare. How poor it is, we need not have to discuss, and it need not be one-off. And Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai has placed before us a model how it can be replicated. It need not be only one of its kind in the country. It is a public-private model supported by societal resources. The government gives the infrastructure. The organization or institution like this, which can inspire young minds, because we have succeeded in inspiring our young graduates and postgraduates in sciences and humanities in our university to go back to villages, to commit themselves to lifelong service. Therefore, it is possible to do this. Any institutions, any samstha, which can provide such inspiring atmosphere, they can run, manage, and provide inspired teachers, inspired medical professors. See, for example, I would like to quote here, whom I know so personally was my student, Professor Raghupati was sitting here. He was my student when he joined 8th class in Alike Institution. After he retired from Bangalore Medical College as professor and head of the Department of Pathology, he was offered many positions, directors of many medical institutes. But he came back here because he is an inspired doctor. He is an inspired medical personnel and working completely honorary. Therefore, if you have an inspired personality like Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, he can inspire hundreds and thousands of youth who can tackle all the problems, not only rural healthcare, rural education, all the problems, and all the problems are rooted because our education is divorced from spiritual and moral values. And that's another aspect, new aspect of a medical college. See, to talk of spirituality and morality in a medical college is absolutely relevant because what is a doctor after all? Think of Dr. Albert Schweitzer. What did he do? Who inspired him? At the age of 30, he joined a medical college because he found in Central Africa people were dying of a strange disease and no medical professionals were ready to go there. He was already a very famous professor of philosophy and a famous musician. He was giving music concerts, violin concerts all over Europe. But he went to that place after graduating himself at the age of 38. Therefore, inspiration and ability, nobility and ability should go together. See, that is what an educational institution has to do. With these words, I conclude and once again request the experts here who deliberate in the 4 technical sessions to think of solutions, whether this could be one solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We now request Padma Shri awardee Dr. Manjunath, Director Sri Jayadeva Institute of Cardiovascular Sciences and Research, Bangalore, to address all of us. A renowned cardiologist and head of one of Southeast Asia's largest single heart care center, Dr. Manjunath is a healthcare leader in institution building and truly believes that every needy patient should be given quality treatment irrespective of financial affordability, a tenet that the entire Jayadeva operations is based on. Let us welcome Dr. Manjunath.
Good morning, ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Sadguru Madhusudan Sai ji and all dignitaries and doctor friends on the dais and all the devotees and disciples and like-minded people. In fact, it is almost a God-sent opportunity to be amongst you. So, normally we visit temples. There are two types of people in the temple. The one group, very rich people, are begging inside the temple, and poor people are begging outside the temple. So here, I think I have come to the greatest temple of humanity and devotion. Pain is a sign you are alive. Problem is a sign you are brave. And prayer is a sign you are not alone. So with this concept, first of all, my hearty congratulations to Sadguru Madhusudan Sai for this exceptional selfless service to humanity and mankind. Unbelievable. It is really unbelievable. At least this sort of devotion, providing quality education free of cost and quality medical services free of cost, somewhere down the line, it ignites, it stimulates some other people on this globe. So I hope this sort of service should become infectious, it should become a pandemic. So that's what I think. So in this conference, in this international conference on post-pandemic reforms in affordable healthcare, and also we are discussing about policies. Just now we heard, yes, the rural sector needs a special push with respect to medical education as well as medical services. See, we look at two types of India. Suppose if you look India aerially, either going in an helicopter or in an aircraft, India looks beautiful, India looks glamorous, India looks richer. We see the second type of India. To see the second type of India, we should always travel by train. On either side of the railway track, you see poverty, you see drinking water problem, you see the status of the roads, you see the sanitary problems, you see the real poor. To understand true India, we should always address and see what we see while traveling the train. So our commitment is to look at this second part of India rather than the first part of India. That's what Sai Institute is doing. See, if you look at the medical education scenario in India, there is maldistribution of medical colleges in India. For example, you take Karnataka. There are 60 plus medical colleges for a population of 6.5 crores. So if you look at the South Indian scenario, 40% of population lives in South India, but 60% of country's medical colleges are situated in South India. So we need to have medical colleges more in northern India and eastern India. This is very, very important. At the same time, there is also maldistribution of doctors. Going by WHO standard, I think we are reasonably very close to the WHO standard doctor-patient ratio is concerned, or doctor-population ratio is concerned. And only problem is, again, there is maldistribution. 70% of doctors are concentrated in bigger cities, and only 30% are in rural areas. Yes, this is a long, unanswered debate going on. Doctors are not willing to work in villages. I think many doctors are willing to work in village hospital. Problem is there is no conducive working atmosphere. There is no protection. There is no safety. There is lot of trust deficit between physician and the public trust deficit is there. So many doctors, because today we are in an era of what is called idiot syndrome. There are two syndromes. One is idiot syndrome, another is Cappy syndrome. As a result, doctors today are under tremendous stress. In fact, there are some studies. Average lifespan of a modern day doctor who was busy interventionist or busy surgeon or working in ICU, average lifespan of a modern day doctor has come down by 10 years. What is this idiot syndrome? Internet-derived information obstructing treatment. So a lot of people come with floods of information downloaded from the mail or from the internet. They virtually dictate you and direct you. You treat the way that we are telling. That's the reason somebody was telling, if you treat according to your own plan, the consultation is less. If you treat according to the patient's attendance plan, consultation will be double. So then we have another problem. The expectations of the today's people is sky high, patients, and they want even a dead person walk home. And we have another syndrome, what is called Cappy syndrome. Children abroad, parents in India. Children abroad, parents in India. These are another group goes on talking without coming and seeing them for hours and hours and interfering in the treatment. Yeah, this is, we'll leave this part alone. Coming back to rural thing, see, there is lot of, doctors, there is no safety, they are willing to work, and they are all in India, they are particularly in our state coming under Jilla Parishad administration. They are not under Directorate of Health Services. So doctors are abused, assaulted, and also there is lot of passive, abusers to physical violence, unless there is a protection, unless there is, although law is in place, any abuse or assault on doctors is a non-bailable offense. But unfortunately, it is not put into action. So this is one of the reasons why doctor, and another thing, today if you look at the number of graduates coming out of medical colleges, 60% are ladies, 40% are male in some of the most of the medical colleges. So where is the protection for them? So this is where our thing has to improve. Another important thing, yes, we are building medical colleges, particularly government is coming up with lot of medical colleges. Medical colleges, building and equipment alone will not able to deliver the services. There has to be an adequate manpower. So our focus should move on from, because maximum interest is with respect to construction of the building. When once building is completed, it's all forgotten, and there is no manpower. And so our focus should move from construction to creation of post. In my opinion, if you are not providing the manpower, then you don't build medical colleges or hospitals alone. What India needs today is creation of post. Should be that policy has to be taken whenever you are sanctioning a medical college, particularly public sector, I'm talking, private is not an issue. In a public sector, whenever you are starting a medical college, at the beginning, when the government gives the approval for a medical college, you give the approval for the manpower at that point only. Then only we can move. That is very, very important. Yes, we at Jayadeva Institute of Cardiovascular Sciences, in the last 15 years, we have treated close to 50 lakh cardiac patients, about 6 lakh operations and interventions. So believe me, no patient has been turned down, has been denied or delayed a treatment for the want of money. That we have ensured. So we are working on a novel slogan, treatment first, payment next concept. Life is more important than the file. Third one, humanity is priority. I can understand, today the health care cannot be taken over only by the government. probably in our country, 40% of the healthcare providers is the government. Another 60% is by the private sector. So the private sector and government sector should always work in tandem to provide a quality care. And of course, there is commercialization in all walks of life today. So medical profession is no exception. I fully agree with that. So yes, there has to be what is called intellectual honesty. And earlier, our Vice Chancellor did mention that today there is a commercialization, and also that's where we have to provide a quality education. Today, what is happening, there are some private medical colleges. See, it's not the number that matters. We should provide a good quality products. The doctors coming out of the medical college should have a very good exposure, should have a good hands-on experience, should have a good skill, apart from both professional skill, technical skill, communication skill. All those things are extremely important. Today, what is happening, in many private medical colleges, there are more students than the patients. Then what is happening? So suppose there are 800 students from first year to final year, but there are only 200 patients. So today, as a result, we are producing lot of less skilled, low standard, substandard doctors, and they have got a degree, but they don't have any practical exposure with respect to their clinical skill. So it's very, very important. That's the reason, see, our Medical Council of India, of course, now National Medical Commission, they start with 100 seats. Then they have slabs, 100 seats, 150, then 250. In my opinion, if these seats should be given not on infrastructure alone. It should not be given only on the faculty you have. The ultimate the bottom line should be what is the patient load. If number of patients coming to that hospital is less, accordingly seats should be reduced. I still remember when Hubli Medical College was started in Karnataka, it started with 67 seats. Today we have seen 250 MBBS seats. Hardly there are 100 patients. So how could they learn? So it's not the number that matters. We need to produce, otherwise we will have what is called, degree holders, quacks with degree holders. So it should not expose those, so those regulations are very, very important. Yes, in our profession, decision making is more important than incisions. Decision making is more important than interventions. And treatment should not be more harmful than the disease. So this is where a medical profession, we as doctors, this is what is called intellectual honesty. And you should understand the financial background of the patient. And within the financial bracket, you see how best a very good treatment can be given. I will just give an example. You are traveling in an aircraft, executive class, and many are in the economic class. If there is an air crash, everybody will die. So same thing happens. If you are fully convinced, here is a patient, even if you do hundreds of procedures, even if you spend lakhs and lakhs of rupees, is not going to survive. It is our duty to talk to the patient's attendants and the family. Yes, look, whatever we do is not going to survive. We have to be frank with this thing. Otherwise, putting them on ventilators, keeping them for months together, the bill comes to around 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs. The one who dies is dead. Those who are surviving are financially dead. So this sort of approach is extremely important. At the same time, another important, yes, today we have what is called various health schemes are there. Government of India has come out with Ayushman Bharat or Karnataka health scheme, and some of the states have their own health schemes. But the rates have not been revised at all, because last 4 or 5 years, what has happened, the rupee devaluation, dollar price is going up, inflation, and at the same time, maybe a couple of months back, the essential drug cost has increased by about 10 to 15%. The government of India should always reduce the tax on all these medical consumables and medical products. Of course, we are talking about Make in India. Now, it cannot come overnight. Yes, it takes some time, but this is where we have to move forward. Another important thing is there is explosion of technology, as our professor was telling. And regarding coming back to NEET examination, see, yes, always the students from rural and semi-urban areas are at disadvantage. But NEET is the entrance competitive examination for medical admissions. Now what they are only taking NEET examination as the, the entrance examination. NEET marks are taken for allotting the MBBS seats. PUC, they have studied pre-university, and it's a 12 months all-done course. This NEET examination, in cricketing language, it is like a one-day T20 match. One day you can perform better, and the other day you may not perform. So in my opinion, rather than taking only NEET marks as the criteria for selection, you take 50% of marks from the pre-university marks, another 50% you take from NEET, combine and club both, and finally decide about the final ranking. Then probably the justice can be done. Otherwise, what I have seen in pre-university or in grade 12, they have scored 98%, but they are not qualified in the NEET. So this sort of a policy change is extremely important. Yes, another important thing is delegation and decentralization of powers are extremely important in a public sector. I keep on repeating this. Just buildings, just equipments is not sufficient. So you have to pick up people because whenever we are picking up the managerial post for institutions, yes, you are looking at publications. Fantastic, fine. In my opinion, for administrative post, for leading the organization, in my opinion, public relation is more important than publications. Public relations are more important than publications, and delegation and decentralization of power is extremely important. Otherwise, we have seen various, central institutions built all over the country, and if you look at the local scenario, even for buying small cleaning agents, the file has to go. Because India is not a system-driven country. India is an individual-driven country. If somebody is good, yes, institution comes up and grows up. So to balance this, the delegation and decentralization is important. And there is explosion of technology. Today, what is happening, for a given disease, there are 2 to 3 options of treatment available, but you should always look at the financial affordability. That is very, very important. In my opinion, you have to use to reach the inaccessible area. Today, you can use this telemedicine technology. You can always, today, I think India's population is 130 crores. But if you look at the mobile phones, more than 130 crores. There are more than population, we have so many mobiles. So you can use this digital technology, mobile technology, for guiding the treatment, for even for in the rural areas, you can have a tele-ICU system. So you can always fill that gap of shortage of specialists. So then we can take this high-tech treatment to the doorsteps. That's very, very important. See, we are talking about health for all. Hospitals alone cannot provide health for all, universal health. In my opinion, health for all can be achieved only if you provide clean air, if you provide clean water, if you provide unadulterated good food. So these are very, very important. Then only we can talk of universal. Today, air pollution is one of the important risk factors for various diseases. In last year, nearly 20 lakhs have died due to air pollution. Today we are talking about soil pollution. I think we are all eating, we are consuming micro quantities of poison every day. Vegetables are grown with pesticides. I think recently an article has come in some of the international journals. Soil pollution is an emerging risk factor. Air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, and of course, because technically speaking, cadmium and lithium are concentrated pesticides. Today you see vegetables, they can't grow without this thing. Organic, because we use a lot of pesticides, you use a lot of chemical fertilizers. So this is where health for all can be achieved. And definitely there is need of the hour is to provide a quality medical education. In that whole process, in our enthusiasm to open new medical colleges everywhere, always you should always see that quality of medical education does not suffer, and we should always, despite this technology today, various gadgets are available. I think and now people are artificial intelligence. So everything only machine gives. You go and stand on a particular equipment, yes, it says whether you have a disease or not, but it cannot tell about your attitude and personality. That cannot be done. So I think artificial intelligence is fine, but again, the God-given brain has to take a final decision. And kindness is extremely important. See, whatever may be your skill, your talent, whatever it is, we should have a very good temperament. Kindness makes you the most beautiful person. However, one can be looking like that. So without kindness, our because that's what. See, we may be having so many degrees, but degrees without culture, wisdom, attitude, behavior, and kindness, in my opinion, it is like water going down the drain. So that is very, very important. And you should always understand the pain and the sufferings of the people. Because by saving one patient, you are not saving one soul. You are saving the entire family. That one should understand. And in my opinion, whether it is private or public, during golden hour, I think whether they have money, no money, all organizations should treat such patients. Of course, subsequent treatment, they can be shifted to some other hospital, but golden hour, whenever a patient comes to any hospital, it's the duty, it's the moral responsibility, this thing. So I think helping others should not be considered as a responsibility. It should be our joy. I think definitely medical education needs reforms. Again, I re-emphasize delegation, decentralization, and manpower is extremely important. And this is how we can take our science forward. And most important, yes, at the bottom line is patient is in the center stage. That is extremely important. So it's a great opportunity to share my thoughts with all of you. And again, my pranams to Sadguru Madhusudan Sai. I think he is a igniting magnetic force to all of us, because this particular place itself, I had come long back, it is such a vibrant place. So that's what, if you are with people like him, always it motivates us to do a lot for the society. So I thank one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for setting the direction for the conference. We would like to extend a token of our love and gratitude to Dr. Manjunath. May we now invite Dr. Vivek Javli to address all of us, Chairman Cardiac Sciences and the Executive Council of Fortis Hospitals, Bangalore, and National Chairman Cardiovascular and Thoracic Surgery Council, Fortis Healthcare India. Dr. Javli is a renowned and loved cardiothoracic surgeon and was also the former president of Indian Association of Cardiovascular and Thoracic Surgeons. Dr. Vivek Javli.
Thank you. My respectful pranams to Sadguru Madhusudan Sahiji, the respected dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I am overwhelmed by this institution and my first visit to this campus. I am also overwhelmed to observe that Sri Bhagwan's prophecy around the future of this Path Mandiram is becoming real, and the growth from here looks to be limited only by fate and our imagination. I am very overwhelmed. I used to be on the I'm on the governing council of the JSS institutions. A decade ago, I had told there that we should have this kind of a conference on medical education for the country. One conference was held a decade ago, but then it petered off. This is an important need for our country. Medical education is just mushrooming, but there is no direction, there is no consciousness on the quality. And an annual national conference where all the stakeholders attend and contribute and deliberate, and it results in change of directions on the road, which is more future-friendly, student-friendly, and nation-friendly, is a need of the hour. This is a place which can be truly a leader. I can feel it in my gut. And if we perceive after 6 or 7 conferences, this can become a national institution which will impact the future of medical education in this country. The growth of medical colleges and seats have been truly, as Manju said, obsessive. The gap that was there between demand and supply is definitely closed. I fear it might have spilled. And what is important now that we have to keep our eyes on is the quality and credentialing. From these conferences, there is a possibility that we could even take a new birth to a new body, like we have for hospital accreditation, JCI, NABH, these are private bodies. For even giving credits for conferences in America, we have ACC, private body credentialing. Like that, we have to have a proper, parallel to NMC or MCI, a proper dependable body for all these medical schools to accredit them and rank them nationally. And that would give a very healthy competition to jump to be the best. The entry to the medical college is fraught with a lot of anomalies and fallacies, and again, these conferences can do a lot of yeoman service on that. You know, NEET examinations, if I see, it takes care of only the score, but there is not the sole thing. A doctor is empowered with a lot of power, and to handle power, you need 2 important attributes. One is sensitivity, and second is the sense of responsibility, though it be a doctor, a person, an institution, or nation. And this has to be guessed, assessed, and crammed in the student from before the admission to his end of learning. So medical aptitude testing and social responsibility sense is, does he have it, does he not have it? If he doesn't have it, how do we put him in it after he's admitted? Those are also important things, and bodies like this can do some original work on that. Already on medical aptitude testing, there is a lot of research done. There are fantastic 3-tier models available, but Indianization of that is possible from here. We could create verticals on these 2 issues and also research on these issues in this institution more proficiently. And also the sensitizing students or even adults on social responsibility, sense of social responsibility. We could even start weekend classes here, popularize them digitally, and I will tell you, with all the corporate partnership we have here, there will be a thumping attendance. God only knows how many thousands of seeds we could send and seed them from those weekend classes. Also, as we go ahead, because the medical college is born in this kind of a spiritual atmosphere, we must always remember that science is a method of preventing ourselves from kidding ourselves. So we should be very conscious that this has to be pure science, and we should not stray in our frenzy of spirituality from pure science. Research roads into conservation of cost and also conservation of ecology in medical area can emanate from here and can become a big force from here. Those topics are unending. Teachers, a lot of people feel, are born good teachers. I don't think that is true. It's a fallacy. A good teacher can be made. A good teacher can be trained. I was in MCI for 10 years. We did our best to create teacher training, but it was very cosmetic, like a sticking plaster surgery, and nothing has happened out of it. The attendance from private was almost 97%. Attendance from government, sometimes it was as poor as 30%. Again, from conferences like this, and again from institutions like this, we could create some very healthy models for medical teachers training. I wish that a vertical growth happens in this campus of the buildings, and the forest-like lovely open spaces are not shrunk. And it is so overwhelming to be here. I can imagine how it will be to be here as a student. There are very interesting times ahead in this campus and in this country. Country is on a path of really great path upwards. So for everybody, the youngsters, especially of this generation, there are very interesting times ahead. It's almost a goosebump, and I'm very inspired to be here, Guruji. Thank you very much for this invitation.
Thank you so much, sir, particularly for focusing on the social responsibilities of doctors, teachers, students, and institutions, an approach that completely resonates with Sadhguru's healthcare mission. We would now like to extend a token of our love and gratitude to Dr. Vivek Javali. We will now have the keynote address by Professor M.S. Valiathan, who has graciously sent us a video on his views of making medical education more accessible and affordable. This will be followed by his address to this gathering.
Pujaniya Sadhguruji, esteemed guests and friends, I am greatly honored to be asked to give a keynote at this International Conference on Medical Education of the Future. Medical education has a long tradition in India. We have our own Indian system of medicine dating back to Takshashila and Nalanda. And more recently in our history, Western medicine came to us in the 19th century. It has made extraordinary progress in India, but in the recent times it has faced two major crises. One of them unprecedented. That was the pandemic, which convulsed the whole world. The second was more recent, that's the Ukraine war, where, to our total surprise, hundreds of Indian students studying in European countries medicine, they were all stranded there, and they had to be brought back safely to India. And facing both these crises, whether it was the pandemic or whether it was repatriating our own young Indian citizens from European countries like Ukraine, Romania, Poland, and so on, India put all its resources together to tackle them, the human resources, physical resources, technical resources, and to a large extent we succeeded. In pandemic, for example, we did as well, if not better, than many developed countries. And similarly, all these young doctors, studying to be doctors in faraway countries like Ukraine, every single one of them was repatriated safely back to India. This is great credit to India. But the question is, why did all these young doctors go to Europe for training? This is something extraordinary. Very many of us were surprised at the number of Indian students studying in countries like China, European countries like Ukraine, Poland, and so on. They don't know the language there. They don't know the medical practice there. They are not allowed to touch patients during their training. And when they come back, their degree is not recognized in India. They have to go through a re-qualifying examination. In spite of it, all these youngsters were going. This was a surprise for us, and it is not cheap. By global standards, I am told that in Ukraine they were charging 30 lakhs of rupees a year for tuition fees. So it's not cheap. But why did all these youngsters go in spite of all these odds? And the reason is very simple. They could not get into India's medical colleges. Even though we are said to have 60,000 MBBS doctors qualifying every year, we have a shortage of doctors in India. We have one doctor for 1,000. According to WHO, the optimum is one doctor for 1,000, according to WHO. But we have only one doctor for 13,000 people. So there is a great shortage. And parents are willing to make any sacrifice to have their children educated and made doctors. This is the reason. Now, is there anything that we can do? Government has its role, doctors, public, they all have their role in trying to tackle this problem. But what is it that we can do, medical educationists, people interested in the future of medical education? What is it that we can do? There is one example we can think of, say libraries, closely, very, very much a part of education. Library, in the old style, we all are familiar. We used to go to library for our books, consulting journals. Now with the number of 60,000 doctors coming in a large medical campus like where I am, Manipal, for example, we have 25,000 students of various disciplines on our campus. Now a library, old style, if the students had to go there, I can remember those days in the PGI Chandigarh where I worked many years ago in 1970s. Textbooks, for example, they may have 10 copies, but there are 20 people wanting to consult them. So they have to stand in a queue and get them. Now that is no longer possible today because the number of students is so large. We cannot have so many books, so many journals. There is simply no space. We have to have many new buildings, a lot of staff. All these problems have disappeared overnight because we have the information and communication technology. They have come. So therefore, today it's electronic library. All these are easily consulted. Even if we have more students, we are ready to accommodate them. Similarly, medical records. Suppose I want to consult medical records for a follow-up study. Earlier on, we had to go and spend hours in dusty rooms sitting, taking up old charts, consulting them. Today, that's not necessary. It is all electronic records. So the ICT has completely changed that. The problem has been solved. Now, is there something, not perhaps the same way, but technology, is there something technology can do in this lack of access to medical education? A small beginning has been made in this, because what is happening today, many of these new medical colleges which have opened, there are standards set up by the National Medical Commission in terms of the space availability, staff, etc. Now, to fulfill these, the requirements are very tough. And one of the problems in this fulfillment of standards prescribed by them is the shortage of staff to teach all these subjects. Especially in medical education, The first 2 years are the basic subjects, basic medical subjects, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, microbiology, pharmacology, and pathology. These are the 6 subjects which are the foundation stones of medicine. These foundation stones, as you know, we generally ignore foundation stones of big buildings. We only think about them if the building collapses, or if we want to add further floors to that, then we think of foundations. Otherwise, we take it for granted. So here, in medical education traditionally, these 6 subjects, even though they are the foundation stones, they never received that much attention because the clinical subjects always dominate. So with the result, the number of students wanting to specialize in these, they're always very small in number. And this has continued. There is no tradition of research in these departments, even though the teachers were highly respected. This has been, and with the increase in the number of medical colleges to 600 plus today, the shortage of teachers in these is very acute. I have seen medical colleges, new medical colleges, with the biochemistry department, such a crucial department. There is only one member, there is an assistant professor, and a visiting professor who comes 3 or 4 days in a month. And that's all they have. So the shortage of staff is very acute, and this becomes more acute as the number of colleges increase. So is there something that technology can do in this direction? Now here, we have borrowed something from the experience of our fraternal community, the engineers. For the last 15 years, the engineers, led by the IITs in India, they have been doing a very successful, made an effort in this direction, because engineering colleges, there are thousands of them. They had the same problem, very poor number of teachers, very poor library, and the bright students who passed 10+2 and coming to these colleges to get a decent education, they were not getting it because of the shortage of teachers, shortage of teaching time, lack of audiovisual facilities, and so on. So what they did was, this is some 15 years ago, a program called the NPTEL, National Program for Technology Enhanced Learning. Learning, that's what it says, not technology. So medicine also can be included. What they did was a syllabus based on the AICTE syllabus. That's not what they teach in the IIT. This was specifically made for the engineering colleges. And they had video lectures of very high quality produced in the IIT studios. And these were delivered by gifted teachers, and they were made open access, available to everybody. And this was a highly successful experiment funded by the Ministry of Education at that time, and is running very well now. Internationally well received, 100,000 hits they get. So the reception of almost 75% from India and 25% from outside India. Now this they have made it very graciously available to medical education also, something very unusual in the last 5 years ago. This program started. So we have these 6 disciplines, basic medical disciplines. We have coordinators, senior medical teachers with 25, 30 years of experience who have been teaching in medical colleges or All India Institute. So we have 6 coordinators that were selected. This is all coordinated from the Madras IIT. That's where the NPTEL has its headquarters. Now these teachers, the center selected, they came from All India Institute in Delhi, BJ Medical College, Pune, the Christian Medical College, Vellore, Kasturba Medical College, Manipal, and Ramachandra Medical College in Chennai. These were the places that I remember. So the senior teachers, what they did was, if the particular subject, let us say biochemistry, in the MCI syllabus, we go by the MCI syllabus, not to replace it. This is simply to supplement what the MCI recommended for teaching purposes. Not a substitute, it is a supplement. That's how it was conceptualized. So, but suppose they have recommended 250 lectures. We don't try to reproduce all that. An experienced teacher, the coordinators, they can easily say, out of this 250 lectures, there is no need to do all that on this NPTEL mode, because many of those subjects, a student can easily understand himself. There is no need to do that. So what they do is they select out of this 250. That is up to them to decide. maybe 50 lectures or 60 lectures, where a teacher's guidance is essential. Now they select very good teachers, regardless of rank. If there is an excellent assistant professor who has a gift for teaching, he would be invited. So these invited people, they give these lectures and they are paid for this in very good studios. And these recorded lectures, courses, a course is usually around almost 30, 40 lectures. Now these are uploaded and it is available to anybody. And the first round of these, over a period of 2.5, 3 years, it became known and it had very good reception from the medical students. There are more and more requests from teachers wanting to take part in this program for teaching. Some want to be coordinators. So the reception has been exceptionally good. And they are even thinking of starting the next round. Further modifications should be made. And this NPTEL also has a very good mechanism for getting feedbacks from the teachers, from the students who have attended, and so on. So based on that, they also make changes, appropriate changes for the next round. Now, this is an example of a program of making this available. And to that extent, if this load, 30% of the course is done in the NPTEL board, then that should be given credit in the medical college. And to that extent, they can reduce the staff. They don't need the pressure on the medical colleges will greatly reduce. So this is one of the ways, and this can be increased, it can be modified. So National Medical Commission, if we work in coordination with them, that's a possibility of a great load on these basic medical sciences being transferred to the technology NPTEL board and reduce the pressure on. This is one way. There are many other ways of doing this. That is one way we can do this. Similarly, the teaching will change in the years to come. Anatomy, for example, no longer cadaveric dissection. It can be done in the virtual board. That also technology can be used so that cadaveric dissection is no longer used. Every 15 people surrounding a dead body trying to do dissection, which doesn't do any teaching really. This can be changed completely. So this kind of approach. So I hope that something like this, a technology contribution, would be a major development in medical education. Virtual board, which will replace many of these in Western countries, Cleveland Clinic, for example, or Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. Anatomy and all this teaching is done entirely through imaging. There is no longer cadaveric dissection and so on. I think we should try to move in that direction. So it will do, the important thing is teaching quality will greatly improve. And we will also be moving with the rest of the world, not going backwards. I hope this conference here, in your discussions, new ideas will emerge so that the education will become more accessible in India. Medical education, larger number of students can attend these. At the same time, it will remain modern and up to date. I would like to wish great success for this conference. Thank you.
We now request Professor M.S. Valiathan to address us all. He's joined us live today.
I'm extremely happy. Am I audible? Can you hear me? I'm very happy to have an opportunity to say a few words to conclude my keynote. I joined the medical college way back in 1951 in Trivandrum. And from then, for the next 50 years, I've been studying, practicing, teaching, doing research in Western medicine. In 2000, I changed my direction. I took up the study of Ayurveda at the age of 65. And for 22 years, I've been studying Ayurveda and also encouraging or promoting research in modern biology based on cues from Ayurveda. Now, these two streams of medicine, both extremely important in India, their concepts and practice, they're entirely different. But they converge only in one area, that is the objectives, that is healing and relief of human suffering. They both are agreed. But these two, healing and relief of suffering, they are much more than treating sickness. There is a great role in this for compassion, and also there is a great role for the character of the patient, of the student, of the doctors. Now, these are two areas, compassion and character. They are largely absent today in discussions in medical education. I was very glad today, the earlier presentations, several of them were referring to this. But this is not the case, but generally these two have largely disappeared. Now, this is a misfortune because disappearing of these two qualities, it has seriously affected medical education in India and also the doctors who are coming out. A few years ago, Dr. Samiran Nandi, who is the founder, editor of the National Medical Journal of India, and Dr. Deshi Raju, who was the health secretary, a very distinguished civil servant, they produced a book published by the Oxford University Press, which was an important publication. The title of the book is self-explanatory. They said, doctors, predators or saviors. That was the title of the subject. That tells you what it really means. It has become very much commercialized, and the element of compassion is not there. And the character of the doctor, this is not at all getting a place in our curriculum. That word is not mentioned. And this is a very serious matter. I don't wish to speak very long. I've already talked about a subject which was very dear to me, to increase access. These are only a few stray remarks I would like to make. When it comes to the character of the doctor, about which so little is being considered, we only look at the scores and so on. Mahatma Gandhi's freedom struggle, as you know, he was a great general building an army for freedom. Now he insisted on character. That is the character in terms of how the way they dress, the way they eat, to be fearless. So many things he insisted. That is all about character. And he only could be a freedom fighter. And the extraordinary results were achieved. So the character, I have never heard in any of these, except here in this meeting. Otherwise, so many conferences I have attended on medical education, specializations, and so on. But I have never heard anybody talk about character. And this is one experience I had I would like to mention here. A few years ago in the UGC, I think 10 years ago, the UGC had a scheme on selecting universities with potential for excellence. Now that scheme invited applications from, I was a member of the UGC at that time. There were some 70 or 80 applications. Shortlisting was done. And then there was a committee set up by the UGC to select these universities. It's a very extremely responsible job because, say, university is more than 100 years old. University is having 100,000 students, published great papers, distinguished people on the faculty, number of considerations are there. How do you develop the criteria for selection of universities? And the selected universities, the vice chancellors had to come and make a presentation before us. And in this committee, I was also a member. And so was Mr. Giri, who was the vice chancellor of the Sathya University in Puttaparthi. And so in that meeting, the first two meetings, Mr. Giri could not attend, but we spent a lot of time, Govardhan Mehta, myself, developing these criteria so that it would be fair and it would be an effective type of selection. So we developed a number of criteria so the scores could be assigned, so anybody could look at the process of selection and verify that it has been done fairly. So the third meeting Mr. Giri attended, so our chairman told him, Mr. Giri, this is what we have done in the last two meetings. These are the criteria. So he looked at it. He was formerly the education secretary in the union government. So he knew the subject very well. So he looked at all this and he talked to us. He said, he was an exceedingly pleasant person. He said, I'm very happy to see this, what you have done. I know it is extremely difficult to do this, developing this criteria. It is unexceptional. But I have a problem. I come from an organization where the first criterion that we have for assessing a scheme or assessing a group or anything, that is character of the person. That is, if you are thinking of selecting people, selecting individuals, character is the most important. And here I find that character is not listed at all. So I can imagine in a university grants commission setup, character is very difficult to put it as a criterion for selection. He knew it very well. So he said, I know your practical difficulty, but for me to make a selection without looking at the factor of character, that would be difficult for me. So he excused himself. He never attended the meeting again. Now that was an example for me of, I knew Mr. Giri later on very well. So that is the problem today, the character. This is the, as far as I know, among all the institutions of higher learning in India, this is perhaps the only place where character, compassion maybe others also do, but character of the individual, that is truthfulness. It is a combination of many things. Even definition is difficult. That is, I hope that will radiate from here, from this institution, and it will flood the whole country. With those best wishes, I would like to conclude and thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It is truly our honor and blessing that you could join us this morning. On behalf of all of us, we pray to Sadguru, founder Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, to bless us all with his inaugural message.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखम् आप्नुयात्. We all know this prayer. This is the most commonly recited prayers, especially in COVID pandemic times, Sarve Santu Niramaya. Because if somebody is not well next to you, there is every possibility that you are going to be unwell soon. So better we pray for everybody's welfare. That's the Indian idea, and that's so very relevant in modern times. Today's conference is all about how to make this idea of Sarve Santu Niramaya. Everybody should be healthy, or those who are unhealthy, they have access to health care and therefore they can become healthy. That is the idea of this conference. It's a very old Indian idea to make everybody healthy and happy. Conferences are generally a point of confluence for several noble ideas. As our scriptures say, Ano Bhadra, Kritvo Yantu Vishwataha. Let noble ideas come to us from all directions. And today we have a lot of people of eminence in their own field who have assembled here, gathered here to address this conference. And first and foremost, I would like to convey our gratitude to Dr. Valiyathan, who is a pillar of support to these institutions, and his guidance and advice is always a guiding light for our hospitals and now for the upcoming medical college. At his age, the enthusiasm to learn and the ideas that he put forward, learning technology, most of the people shy away from technology as they grow old. But he seems to be only growing younger. He's a scientist, apart from being a doctor, who has invented, for the benefit of the children, Chitra heart valves was his creation, which considerably reduced the cost of valves. Otherwise, everything was imported and what we call make in India. So this happened long ago through Dr. Valiyathan, and we are very grateful that he could join us today virtually, and soon he would join us physically too. On my right, we have Dr. Manjunath, again a person of great eminence who took Jayadeva Institute to newer heights, and we are completely aware of the wonderful work that Jayadeva Institute is doing today, and serving several thousands of, as he said, lakhs of patients, especially the poor, the disadvantaged sections, are getting treatment there, and making it accessible and affordable to that section of the society is the greatest contribution that Dr. Manjunath's leadership at Jayadeva is giving to the society. We are very grateful to you, sir. On my left, we have, of course, Dr. Javali, who has been on the panels of policy making, who has been on various other eminent, as a part of very important panels and policy making committees. And his inputs have been very useful, and I assure you that our medical education will definitely be founded on science, only garnished with spirituality. We will not deviate from science, that's for sure. Sensitivity and responsibility that he talked about, it is so important in today's times, especially in the young graduates who have to think that their education is given to them so that they can fulfill their responsibilities towards the society and be sensitive to societal needs. Thank you for those inputs, and your experience in the field of both healthcare as well as medical education would go a long way in helping us formulate our policies and give a direction to the upcoming medical college too. I have Professor Sachidanandji, who has been a part of this institute. He's a family. He's been here many times, and he's also guiding us now with our policies on the medical education. Most welcome to you, and gratitude to you, sir. We have Dr. Rajgopal, who has come all the way. And now as we talk about, just now Dr. Valiyathan talk about, he's doing research on the common ground between Ayurveda and the allopathic medicine, the Western medicine. And you come from that field. And in Ayurveda, they call health as swasthya, as they say. Swasthya means to be situated in yourself, to be in harmony with yourself is true health care. And that is what today WHO has also talks about, not just absence of disease or infirmity, but it's a complete holistic well-being of physical, mental, and social well-being. And today, that idea is Ayurvedic idea. Slowly it's spreading to the world, that how health should be looked at holistically. So we are most happy to have you here, and I'm sure we will receive a lot of inputs in the upcoming sessions from you. Thank you very much. We have Professor Nitin Gangane. He's come from Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, an institute which is already doing something that we are planning to do. And I've been there, we have had discussions, I've seen his presentations, their commitment towards the cause of rural healthcare, which was the founding father's vision, Mahatma Gandhi's vision. And they have been working for several decades now, and they are also helping us understand how to make this rural healthcare more affordable, accessible. And in rural healthcare, there is always this competition, or there is always this tug of war between the quantity and quality. You have so many people to serve, at the same time you want to serve them in the best way. That is something Mahatma Gandhi Institute stands for. They are doing a lot of quantity work at the same time with very high quality. And some of their ideas are now incorporated in the policy, as like adopting the village rural families. Every student of the medical college must interact and must engage with a rural family and kind of be there almost like a family doctor to help them sensitize themselves to the need of the rural areas. So that is something that we are learning from them, and we are very thankful that you're here today amidst us. Dr. Ravi Pillai, a pillar of support and strength, has been involved. His father, Dr. Kandaswamy Pillai, who actually designed the syllabus or the teaching methodology for orthopedics in Singapore National University back then. He is equally deserving son of his father, who is a very eminent orthopedic surgeon as well as specialist in sports medicine. And he's also guiding our institute set up its orthopedic department and also in various other fields. So I'm very, very happy to have you here. Dr. Snehal Kulkarni, and she is now a part of the Sanjeevani family. And I don't have to especially invite or especially welcome or thank her. It's naturally her duty to be here when such conference is happening. And we had very long discussions earlier. She was very passionate about rural health care, mother and child care, and she was saying it's so difficult to even bring the patient from rural areas to the hospitals. In India, in Chhattisgarh, where we have a hospital, a patient, a mother-to-be, might have to travel 70 kilometers before she can reach nearest institution to deliver a baby. And much of that journey does not have a road, so people have to carry them on homemade stretchers, tie a kind of a bed sheet to 2 sticks and carry the mother all the way till an ambulance can come and receive where a pakka road is there. Otherwise, through the tribal forests, it's very difficult. And she was talking about how to make that accessible. And she's a part of our team now, which is taking mother and child care also to the rural doorsteps. I'm very happy to let you know that within this year, we are setting up 10 mother and child health centers across the country, each of them approximately 50-bedded facility. In Yavatmal, it's already set up, it's functioning. In Chhattisgarh, it is set up. This center is also a mother and child center. We deliver almost 3 to 4 babies, and the other day, I went there and I saw a 32-week, premature baby which was there. And somebody who came from Bangalore, pioneer in mother and child care, he said, this should be in the news, that a 32-week is being taken care of in our NICU. And I said, unfortunately, we haven't learned to talk much. We work more and talk less, but I think we will talk more now that you advise us to do. So mother and child is a very important rural healthcare side of things. And India is a populous country. Every day we have 75 to 80,000 children being born. In a year we will surpass and become the world's most populous country. And we have so many children to be looked after, so many mothers to be looked after. So our mission is marching towards mother and child care. It's also kind of a backward integration. Looking into the health of mother is equal to looking into the health of the child. Nutrition is one of the major issues, anemia and things like that. So we are working on that. Like our Dr. Manjunath very nicely put it, a kind of a backward integration in healthcare. It's not about you treating them with money or not money, that comes later. But not letting the disease happen by giving purer air, purer water, better food and nutrition to the people, it already would become a very preventive healthcare, and it will become less burdensome on our healthcare infrastructure as well as professionals, especially in a country like us, where we don't have enough of them. We don't want to fall sick unnecessarily. If we can avoid falling sick or developing a disease, it is the best service we can do to our own countrymen. I was just on a lighter note, I was reading a small magazine. India Today had come up with a kind of an article on heart diseases in youngsters now, less than 40 years old. They have these heart attacks. And the reason for them is the bad lifestyle that they engage in. On Zomato and Swiggy alone, 12 million samosas have been ordered in just 1 year. And all this is by those urban elite, who can just sit on their couches, watch Netflix, and click on their mobile and order samosas and keep eating that. And look at what they do. They think we are wealthy, we can pay for our health issues. If we fall sick, we know we can go to any institute or any medical college and throw money and get treatment. Yes, they can, they have the money, they are privileged, but that doesn't give them the right to unnecessarily occupy a bed, which is needed more by somebody else who really has a health problem, not a lifestyle-developed disease. We need to educate our society to remain healthy so that they allow that limited beds available to somebody who needs it more, who is more deserving. Like congenital heart diseases are there that we work in. They're born like that. They didn't develop it because they ate samosas and cheese dips. They developed it because of whatever genetic issues, there were malnutrition, many other issues, which we are still tackling. So we must make our healthcare also accessible by educating those who are capable of keeping themselves healthy by following some restraint on their lifestyle ways. Eat correctly, live correctly, do exercises, keep your mental balance, read good literature, watch good things, be in good company, and that way you can reduce your own stress and your own anxieties and these kind of lifestyle habits which make you a patient. And unnecessarily it becomes a burden on our already burdened healthcare system. So education in healthcare, preventive healthcare should also be a part of our healthcare accessibility and affordability. And I think doctors have to take the lead because most of the doctors are most indisciplined. I've seen a lot of doctors in my life, young doctors who are just graduating. And they all wake up when everybody goes to sleep and start studying. And they go to sleep when everybody wakes up. Our body and the sun, they are connected. Our heat system, Ayurveda will tell you all that. And our modern medicine also recognizes that. No, we have to work, we have to wake up like birds and sleep like birds. That's the way we can keep ourselves healthy. But most of our people follow only one bird, you know which one, which is not good. They're all night owls. And medical students do that, very indisciplined. And I keep telling them, you first follow discipline, then only you can tell your patient. You don't have authority to say a thing because you don't follow. But at the same time, while students, you can be more strict to yourself, more disciplined, as healthcare education should teach them that self-discipline, which is very lacking in today's medical graduates. Every other aspect has been covered in these few talks from Dr. Valiyathan, who talked about technology. Yes, we are looking at our medical college as something which will be very high on technology. We'll have simulation labs, virtual reality labs, so that we don't have to use as many cadavers. We can do a lot of learning based on simulation, based on virtual reality. And Dr. Sunny, who is one of the members who's from Stanford, who is also part of this conference, who's organized this, is working on that kind of a system where children can learn a lot. There, Dr. Sunny is there. So thank you very much for organizing this conference, Dr. Sunny, despite your very busy schedule over there. And I hope we can set up that virtual reality labs here, which will help the children learn better. And again, that's again a suggestion from Dr. Valiyathan to use technology as much as possible, because we do lack quality teachers and professors. While India is going on opening medical colleges, I see now medical colleges are opening dime a dozen. Every district there are crores of rupees being spent, but quality professors, assistant professors are lacking. And more than 1 million Indian doctors work in America alone. If they all can develop a little more heart towards India, they have gained out of India, and such doctors can come back or virtually engage with institutions in India, it is going to go a long way in improving the healthcare education and delivery. Last but not the least, to all the children, today they are writing the NEET exam, I'm aware. And because I got so many messages praying, please bless that I clear the NEET exam. Some people have got into depression, anxiety, and blood pressure. Children of this young age, because the pressure that they have to undergo. Why? Because many of our children come from vernacular, language mediums. For them, as such, medical education is all Greek and Latin, literally, and actually all the words are from Latin and Greek languages. That itself is difficult. On top of that, these children come from rural areas. They have studied in Kannada medium or Telugu medium or Tamil medium. For them to suddenly learn everything in English and write a NEET exam, like others who have studied English medium, is very tough. And that is one thing that has been a problem point for all of us. On one side, the government policy says we must make these professional educations also into vernacular languages. That's a thought process. But I don't think it's going to happen very soon. For example, in Karnataka alone, they tried to convert engineering into Kannada language-based engineering. And I saw the newspaper, and I saw there is only one student who applied for Kannada-based engineering. And naturally, they had to cancel the program. And when the question was asked why people are not applying in Kannada-based engineering courses, they said, where are jobs for us after this? You assure us that there will be job if we take up Kannada-based engineering studies, then we will apply. And naturally, we have to close the whole loop. You educate them whichever way, but at the end, they should have an employment and ability to sustain themselves before they can do service to others. There are lots of these ideas and topics that are being discussed and will be discussed in the upcoming sessions. I am very glad that all of them could come here, And I'm glad that the university could organize this conference with the help of everybody, Dr. Raghupati, the Vice Chancellor, the Chancellor, and all the eminent doctors who are sitting in the crowd. They're all very important people, I know that, and we would get to hear from them. But most importantly, see, is as a country, as a world, we must develop this understanding that healthcare is not a product, it's a service. We call it service. So it should be delivered like a service only. Service means you are considerate towards the other person, you are loving, you are kind, you are compassionate. And that is something that service stands for. Whereas a product can be mechanical, can be engineering, can be anything else. It may or may not have emotions in it, but human beings have emotions. A patient is an emotional being. And therefore, we have to cater to that aspect of personality. We have to add compassion to our healthcare, education as well as delivery, financial, no financial. Compassion doesn't cost you money. You can still show kindness without charging a patient. That is something very human. So humanness in healthcare is what we want to add back. And with all the policymakers, the eminent personalities, I'm sure our medical mission, especially the upcoming medical college, which is an experiment in rural area, I define it as it's for the rural, of the rural, by the rural healthcare. This is what our healthcare mission stands for. We want to train rural students in a rural setup for the sake of rural patients by rural professors. Rural professors in the sense they're interested in serving in a rural campus like ours. Otherwise, they have plenty of opportunities in urban areas. But this is the vision. I'm sure all the people here on the stage and off the stage will help us achieve this vision with their experience, their expertise, their advice. We would be able to develop a new model of healthcare education, medical education. And I also want to remind everybody that medical education is not just about doctors. We must cast the net wider and include nursing, paramedics, and allied health services into it, because a doctor cannot do everything on his own. He needs the help of everyone. So all the quality of education in all those spheres, the allied services also should come up. So our medical institution is trying to get every course here. Many medical colleges don't try to do nursing. Nursing colleges don't do medical, or medical institutions don't do paramedical courses. But our university is unique because we have nursing courses, we have paramedical courses, we have DNB postgraduate courses, and the MBBS regular graduate courses. It's coming together of all sections of medical education so that they learn from each other, respect each other's labor and skill. And they develop a kind of camaraderie, a team work, and that will help to deliver healthcare better. At the end, we want the patient to be happy, patient to be relieved of his suffering and pain. And everybody must work together for it. And labor has to be respected. Shrama, sarvatra vijay, they say. All effort, that when we put correct efforts, it always wins. And therefore, everybody's effort is important. I always say, even our Sanjeevani hospital, a watchman to the chairman should speak the same language. A watchman may be guarding the door, but he also is helping heal a child. So when then John F. Kennedy went to the NASA Space Center, and there was a janitor who was cleaning the lift. And he went there and he asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm helping put man on the moon." A janitor can speak like this. That is the language we must speak. What are we trying to do? We are trying to help even a sweeper, a hygiene worker, a nurse, a paramedic. Everybody should say, we are helping take healthcare to the rural doorsteps. That is our vision, and everybody should speak this language from the topmost director to the least, as we say, or to the watchman at the gate, who was totally non-qualified for medical healthcare, but he also or she also must speak the same language. Let us have this vision. I wish you all the best, and I wish this conference success in their endeavor to find newer ways, better ways to make healthcare affordable and accessible to the rural area, and also of high quality, not of poor quality, but of extremely high quality without any discrimination to everyone. This is our vision. This is not my vision. This is the vision of our country. This is how our country always was, and that's why Vaidyo Narayana Hari, as the students chanted, we have to be deserving of that title that doctors are God or healthcare professionals are gods. We have to be deserving. Towards that, let us work. May everybody achieve success in this endeavor, and thanking everyone again for having participated and contributed their own ideas and time. I conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sadhguru. This two-day conference is planned around 4 themes: affordability, accessibility, acceptability, and quality of medical education. Today, we will have 2 technical sessions around the themes affordability and accessibility. Thank you, Sadhguru, and all the dignitaries. And with this, we conclude the inaugural session of the International